What's going on, world? It's your boy Alex Miner, and today we're going to talk about one of the best and most affordable wide-angle lenses for Micro Four Thirds that I've ever seen. This is the 12mm f2 by Pergear. If you're not familiar, Pergear is one of the biggest sellers of photo, video, and lighting equipment on Amazon. Their warehouse will probably be heaven for most YouTubers because they stock the latest and greatest from brands like Aputure, Godox, Moza, Deity, and more. But now it looks like Pergear isn't satisfied with just being a retailer. Over the last couple of years, they put out 7 lenses for Micro Four Thirds, Fuji, and Sony cameras. And this one even comes in Nikon Z-mount. When some people do lens reviews, they like to dive deep into all the tech specs, talking about lens elements and groups, but I don't really understand any of that stuff, and I don't care. What matters to me is how the lens feels when it's on the camera and what I actually see through the lens. I also don't feel like I can give a real opinion on the lens until I've actually used it in the field for an extended period of time. So when Pergear sent this to me back in December, it lived on my camera for over a month. This lens is solid, all-metal construction, including a metal screw-on lens hood, and out of the box, it just looks great. It's super lightweight and feels right at home on a GH5, and will probably be a welcome change for all of y'all used to dealing with heavier glass on Sony and Nikon cameras. The focus and aperture rings are smooth and easy to use. I do wish they offered a little bit more resistance, but I wouldn't call that a problem. It's more of a personal preference. Some of the markings on the lens are etched in, but the majority are just painted on, so I don't know how they'll hold up over time, but for now, I haven't noticed any of the paint coming off. So how does the lens perform? Well, you tell me. If you've watched any of the content that I put out during December and some of the stuff I put out in January, you saw this lens in action. I felt it worked surprisingly well as a vlogging lens, as it's not much bigger than my beloved Laowa 7.5 and was actually able to give me some shallow depth of field at arm's length. Some people might consider the field of view a little tight on the GH5, but if you're a Sony A series user, you're going to get a frame that's about 25% wider than what you see in these shots. Definitely something to consider for an A64, A65, or A6600, or even a Fuji shooter. I also love the colors this lens was giving me. The majority of the time I shot in the natural profile and didn't have to do anything to the image. Now this footage was my low light test. A friend of mine put together a music and art show on the patio of a wine bar in downtown Orlando. Pretty much all the light here is provided by the light strings you see. If you look in the background, you can see the sky is pitch black. Normally, I don't take the camera up higher than 800 ISO, but I think for some of these shots, I got up to 1000 or 1250, and all the footage is still usable. This was also shot in Cine D to help me get increased dynamic range. Once again, the lens really surprised me. For situations like this, I normally break out the Sigma 18-35 with a speed booster and be shooting at 1.4 or 1.2. So to get footage I'd actually use in an edit off of an f2 lens, I'm pretty impressed. And speaking of faster lenses, I do have a 12mm T1.6 by SLRMagic. Here's a couple quick comparison shots where you can see the difference in depth of field and field of view. I don't know which one of these is more accurate in terms of focal length, but I'm guessing the Pergear might be closer to a 13 or 14mm than 12. To get the same exposure, I turned the ISO down from 640 with the Pergear to 400 on the SLRMagic. Both lenses were wide open and all other camera settings were the same. So how do I feel about the Pergear overall? At $165, I think this is an option that Micro Four Thirds needed badly. If you've watched my best wide-angle lenses video, you know that the closest competitors to this are significantly more expensive, with the closest being the Rokinon 12mm, which is over $100 more. The newest 12mm from SLRMagic is triple the price and T2.8, while the current offerings from Olympus and Panasonic are even more expensive. If you're not afraid to buy used, you can buy an older SLRMagic T1.6 like I've got, but even that will run you close to $300 on eBay. So if you're looking for a wide-angle lens that is budget-friendly but will actually give you some decent depth of field, this is the obvious choice, especially for Micro Four Thirds. Shoutouts to Pergear for sending the lens out for review. Y'all knocked it out of the park. I really love this lens, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's interested. So if you like the content, make sure to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the test footage, and any questions, make sure to leave them down there. I love to catch up with y'all, and I'll check you out on the next video. It's your boy Alex Miner.